Michael, do you remember the first time you went on stage and performed in front of people as a musician?
Yeah, it was actually in high school when I was taking a German class. So I studied German in high school. And we had this competition called the Sprachfest that was kind of like a gathering of all the German high school classes in the region. I grew up in Long Island. And it was a sort of a competition thing. And so we formed a little band in our high school German class and decided to perform a song kind of inspired by Mac the Knife, Mackie Messer. And then we kind of wrote our own lyrics about learning German and such. So,
What were your goals as a musician?
I think when I first started getting interested in playing music, it was because music really meant a lot to me. So as a listener, I really connected with a lot of artists, a lot of songs, and I found that that was like a special way to feel like I was understanding something about humanity, being a human and sort of existential ideas. And so I really wanted to be able to express my own ideas that way. And so I wanted because that was so important to me, I wanted to say, what kind of opportunity could I take out of this to then express myself and connect with others in the same way, to create something that's meaningful to somebody else. And so I started writing songs, with the hopes that maybe that would sort of make somebody else feel the same kind of connection that I felt with the artists that I enjoyed.
How many years was music your focus?
I started playing music. I started playing in bands when I was about 15, and I did that very seriously until I was about 40. So I guess that's about 25 years. And I would say within the context of that, there were maybe about 10 or 12 years where we were really trying to, build a career out of it, touring regularly, kind of trying to get signed to bigger and bigger record labels, find music licensing opportunities and things along those lines. So,
What do you love about making music?
Again, I love the opportunity to just connect with people. I love the opportunity to create something that gives people some emotional response, that gives people an opportunity to listen or to understand what I'm experiencing internally, to be able to say something that is difficult to express in simple words. But when you put it in the context of a song, it directly kind of reaches somebody's heart or somebody's emotional core, somebody's existential core, and then they kind of connect with that in a meaningful way. So I love the kind of give and take of creator or musician or performer and listener and fan and other things, especially in a live setting. You really see that kind of interaction, especially with dancing or with other kinds of interactions. So that's my favorite part. Is just a way of connecting multiple people together.
What do you hate about it?
The worst things about playing music are that, especially if you're doing it sort of seriously, if you're doing it as a career, something like touring, you're spending 23 hours a day waiting for the 1 hour that you're actually doing the thing. And people always talk about why so many musicians get kind of addicted to drugs or other things, because they're just trying to find ways to fill that time and to kind of reconnect to the high of that one kind of moment or that one segment of their time where they're actually doing the thing. They're also, as an indie musician, as somebody who's not supported by a giant touring crew or roadies or other things like that, we're always dealing with carrying our gear, transporting our gear, worrying about the logistics of it, booking things. There's so many things that happen behind the scenes of actually getting to perform music that, again, you have this one moment that's really important and really meaningful, but there's so much stuff around it that poses a challenge and makes it sort of less enjoyable, or takes away from that great moment.
What would your life be without music?
I don't know if I could even imagine, what life would be like without music. I guess, in a sense, I think music is the art that I sort of chose to first really have a meaningful connection with, but I could probably find that connection in other things. I enjoy reading as well, but it's something where maybe if I didn't have music, I would have spent more time reading, or I would have spent more time immediately going to watch movies, or I would have looked in some other art form. Because again, the most important part to me is the human connection and the ability to kind of share ideas and express really, I mean, ultimately, I think we're all expressing the things that we're afraid of, or that we don't understand, or that we don't really know how to put in a physical set of ideas or terminology. And I guess I'm always looking for some way to encapsulate that and to present it and to connect with people about that.
What's your favorite music documentary?
I think my favorite music documentary is a band called Death, because it's really, I love stories about people who really put in everything and never quite were successful. And then what's great about the documentary is I think it brought new attention to the band, and brought new attention to the whole music scene around them, the individuals, and I think they got to then become sort of what they had tried to become the whole time while they were, actually functioning as a band. And that's an exciting story to me, like something like that, where there's an opportunity for a documentarian to shine a light on something that then becomes kind of more prominent in the public eye.
How hard was it for you to transition away from music?
It really wasn't too bad transitioning from music to film. The sort of method that we did it by was that we started making music videos, because music videos became a really important, they were really important since MTV started, but in the context of smaller bands, once the internet was really taking off and sites like YouTube were really taking off, music videos started to become something that you could create and then present in a way without having backing to get on MTV or other kind of bigger channels. So we had started doing several music videos, and we had started working with other directors and other filmmakers to create those. And we loved making films in general. We loved watching films. We were always big fans of films. And so while we were going through the process of making those music videos, we were always kind of peeking over the shoulder of the directors and the cinematographers of those and asking lots of questions, probably annoying them a lot. They're like, oh, the artist is constantly asking questions about this. And started to realize that in order to continue doing that, because we wanted to make lots of music videos, the only way we could do that is if we could reduce the cost significantly. And so we decided we would get cameras and get gear and just start creating our own music videos. And once we kind of started doing that, we realized this is great. We really enjoy this part of it. Let's start actually making films. And we sort of dove in that way. And because filmmaking is such a collaborative process, and being in a band is such a collaborative process, it sort of felt natural to make that transition and to bring people together to do the thing. And as long as it's a creative endeavor, I think we get the same kind of joy out of it, and the same kind of fun out of it, and the same fulfillment out of it.
And this was where? Where were you when you began this?
We're living in Boston at that point, yeah.
Oh, Boston, okay. And so how was that, being in, a major city, but not necessarily known for film?
Right. It was interesting because there were very, very few independent filmmakers who were kind of doing what I would call serious work, or doing especially feature work or other kind of bigger projects that made it outside of the city into sort of bigger contexts. And we very quickly, I think, because we were, I don't want to say super well known, but we were known a little bit in Boston for doing music, and we had a fan base there, a small fan base. When we started to make a transition into filmmaking, all of those people, we weren't really sure. We said, okay, I don't know, are these people going to want to come along on this ride, or are they just going to say, oh, we don't care about you making films. You're supposed to be making music. What are you doing? And so, one of our first projects was to run a Kickstarter campaign for a feature film. And we thought, well, let's see, if these people want to kind of support us and we can get a community around this, then this is great. And if not, then maybe this is not the right place for us to go. And we were amazed at the support and the interest and everything. And so we were able to kind of bring together people from the music scene. We were involved, we had a lot of friends who did burlesque in Boston. And so we had a lot of the burlesque people came in to do acting and other kind of performance stuff with us. And so we were able to kind of bridge together various art scenes in Boston to some degree in our creative work. And that was really exciting because it was an opportunity to share and collaborate with people.
Tell us about your decision to offer up your instruments as part of your crowdfunding perks.
I think that was that we thought it was a little gimmicky, and we sort of set it at scales that probably, you know, for our most prized instruments probably wouldn't get selected. But we thought it was fun to show commitment to doing film by saying, look, we're ready to, you know, give up our most sort of prized possessions to commit to making sure that this film is successful and that this endeavor is going to be meaningful and successful. And we ended up not really giving away any of the kind of our main most important instruments. But I think just that sort of a symbol of a commitment, I think, was important to us.
You said you've been doing music for how long?
About 25 years. Well, now because we haven't really been serious the last 5 or so years. So 30-ish years I've been playing, in bands and doing music.
Were there times where you hear something on the radio and you go, you know what? If I had stayed with it, would that have been us? Or maybe that wasn't the route you wanted to go?
Right. I mean, of course, you always have the sort of call back to doing music. If you love music or any kind of art, you always have the callback where you're like, oh, I love this band, and that inspires me to want to play music and write songs. That's actually the greatest inspiration for me in general, whether it's music or film or any other endeavor, is to see something great, some great piece of art that connects with me. Because I say, oh, this person they're succeeding at doing what I want to do. They're reaching me in a meaningful way. But I don't really take that as like a jealousy or like I should have been this person or anything along those lines. I see it more as an inspiration and an opportunity. So I think we want to go back and do music again. We want to start a band. We actually had talked about starting a band again right before the pandemic hit. We were like, this is the year where we will resume doing music. We'll start a band, we'll start playing. We have a lot of friends in bands in Los Angeles, so we're like, we have enough connections maybe that we could get some shows and do some things. And then it just didn't happen because of that. So we've been kind of relegated the last 5 or so years. We've been relegated to writing music for films. So we've written a bunch of songs and recorded a lot of music, but it's really only been in the context of film soundtrack or score.
When you left the East Coast, you felt like this was the right decision, or were there ever moments where you doubted it?
Well, it was. It's hard to know, of course. The moment you drive out, you're like, is this going to be a disaster? Is this going to be a smart thing to do? So many of our friends had left Boston, moved to LA or New York, and then kind of came crawling back after. So we thought, could happen to us, right? We don't know, and that's okay if it does. We're just going to give it a try. But I think we were so beaten down by Boston winters and by our experiences in Boston in terms of hitting a ceiling of where we could go artistically. There really wasn't anywhere else that we could go. And we had written a grant proposal with a group of artists to obtain a building that was it was a former school building that the city was trying to figure out what to do with it. And we had written a grant with a bunch of artists to turn it into an artist space. And one of the things that would be in that space would be a film studio. And so, we thought, like, look, if Boston is committed to arts, and we lived in Somerville specifically, and we said, that this school was in Somerville, and we said, if Somerville is committed to arts, they need to make sure that they're doing something with these types of projects where they're looking at artists and looking at ways to keep artists in Somerville as rents go up and as prices go up. And so that was kind of like our big project where we put it forth, and we're like, look, this is us saying to you, this is what we want or demand. And ultimately they chose to pick a project that was basically condos, building condos. And we sort of viewed that as like, okay, this is just not the place. This is not the place that's gonna support what we want to do. And when we were leaving Boston, I wrote a post on Facebook. This is one of the strangest things that's ever happened to me, because I don't think of us as I thought of us as involved in the music and film and art scene in the cities, in Boston and Somerville. But I didn't think, we were that influential or important or anything like that. But I wrote a long Facebook post explaining why, I thought that we didn't have the support for arts that we needed in order to stay there, and why we were deciding to move to Los Angeles, where from my perception, more people were committed to artistic endeavors. It seemed like something that was more ingrained in society in LA versus something, that was happening in Boston. And so I wrote this Facebook post, and immediately all these news outlets started picking up on it, reposting it, sharing it. We ended up in like Boston Magazine, which is part of the major magazine there. There was an article in the Boston Globe where the mayor responded to my to my post, talking about what the city does to support artists and such. So it struck a nerve with a lot of people because I think they were experiencing the same types of things. And one of my friends said to me, he said, "Look, if the biggest news that week is that you're leaving Boston, then you need to leave. That's your time to leave Boston. You're doing the right thing by leaving." And so it felt like as we were making that start of the journey, it felt like the right thing already because of the way that kind of all went down. And then when we arrived in Los Angeles, we had in mind, look, this may take 5 years before we ever have a gig, know anybody, do anything. We knew a few people from doing film festivals and such, but we were like, we have to be patient because it may take time. It may take time. And I think about 2 weeks after we got here, my partner Sophia was already off doing cam opping on a feature film, and I was going to film festivals here and meeting all the people and making friends with everyone, and it really felt immediately like we were connected and we were home and we were welcomed, especially into the horror community here. It's a very, very open, and I think it's a bunch of people who are nerds about horror movies, and if they meet somebody else who has the same interest, it's not a very gatekeepery type of thing. They're excited. They're like, "Oh, another person who loves the strange stuff that we love. We want to bring them in." So very quickly we felt at home, and very quickly we got involved in doing projects, and I think by 6 months in, we had already more than doubled the amount of film work that we had done in our whole lives. So there really wasn't any time where it felt like the wrong place. And I'll say, one January day, I walked outside wearing a T-shirt and looked on Facebook and saw that all my friends in Boston were covered in 3 feet of snow. And I was like, we made the right decision.